In 1866 and 1867, something mysterious happened that people couldn't solve. People believed that there was a huge thing, probably a creature at sea. People were frightened by that monster and asked for the government to solve it. So, the United States built the fastest ship, the Abraham Lincoln, to catch the creature. Pierre Aronnax, one of the main characters, was a professor at the Museum of Natural History in New York, and he wrote a book called Mysteries of the Deep Ocean. Before the Abraham Lincoln started sailing, the professor got an unexpected invitation for the expedition. He decided to join with his loyal servant Conseil. They met Ned Land on the ship, the best harpooner and the only person who didn't believe what they were searching for was not a creature. While they were sailing, they thought they found the creature and tried to approach it. During that struggle, Professor Aronnax and Conseil fell from the ship into the sea. They swam for a while, then Ned saved them from the sea, dragging them onto the floating island. They soon figured out that it was not an island, not a monster, but a submarine made of iron. People inside the submarine realized them and put Professor Aronnax and his companions to the prison inside the submarine. After some time, Professor Aronnax met Captain Nemo, who talked to him calmly and friendly. He stated that they could go around freely in the submarine called Nautilus, but he had one condition. They were not allowed to get out the submarine and they had to stay there forever because it was a top secret mission. The captain provided them special rooms inside the submarine. There was a museum and a library with 12,000 books. Professor Aronnax was surprised to see such a museum. This submarine had been built on a small island by Captain Nemo and his team, and he was able to do that submarine because he was extremely rich. At first, Professor Aronnax and his friends were happy to travel different places with a submarine, but later they started to find a way to gain their freedom. One day, Captain Nemo mentioned that they would arrive the Mediterranean Sea by the Tunnel of Suez. Professor Aronnax and his companies planned their escape, but when they tried to escape, there were some problems, so they had to postpone it. Soon after, they made their minds to escape from that submarine. They made their plans and managed to escape at 10 o'clock at night with a boat. They fought with a maelstrom, but in the end they arrived at an island in Norway called Lofoten. In the end, they had traveled 20,000 leagues in 9 months. The professor wrote about his observations and the adventures they experienced during that journey. He wasn't sure if people would believe that journey, and he wasn't sure if Captain Nemo was still alive. Firstly, I felt excited when I was reading the book. Jules Verne very good at geography since he was a traveler, novelist and poet. I did follow his steps from Google Maps. In the story, his journey starts in New York and ends in Lofoten, which is one of the islands of Norway. The breathtaking view of that island can be witnessed through Google Maps thanks to the technology we have today. Actually, there's a part I would like to change. In modern times, we don't have servants. So instead of giving Conseil the role of being a servant, I would introduce him to the readers as one of the protagonist's close friends. Conseil should be the best friend of Professor Aronnax, since no one except Conseil is mentioned in this story. While Ned constantly complains about everything, and I will change it too. And when it comes to Captain Nemo, he's a man who is always in a different mood. In the story, when they went to Papua New Guinea, Professor Aronnax, Ned, and Conseil went hunting to the island. They hunted a kangaroo and spent some time there. Suddenly, they came across with people who lived in the island. Jules Verne mentions them as half humans. Professor Aronnax and his team called them islanders. I believe it is not fair because people who lived in the island felt uncomfortable because of the strangers. Jules Verne narrates those people as monsters and calls them wild-looking men. What is more, anyone who read this story in 1870s might have gotten a false impression of Papua New Guinea. However, Professor Aronnax could have been more polite to them, and they would have tried to contact them. Maybe they could have gotten some help from them, and the story would have been totally different. Moreover, they tried to defend themselves with a weapon which delivered electric shock, and I believe it was not fair either. Captain Nemo said that this weapon was just to make them useless, but in my opinion, we can try talking with people to solve our problems instead of using weapons. Moreover, Professor Aronnax was a doctor, but he made use of his expertise only once. If I were Jules Verne, I could make him more effective. I would make the professor help and save Captain Nemo's crew members from dying. Thus, the professor could have earned Captain Nemo's trust, and it would have been possible for him to convince the captain to end that ridiculous journey and set them free. As a character, Captain Nemo had an amazing brain and was very skillful, but he had some bad memories and he avoided facing the past. His whole family was killed in Britain, and as a reader, as far as I understand, that's the main reason he never wanted to end his journey with his submarine. If I could change the plot, I would make Professor Aronnax treat him as a doctor. What is more, when they hit the iceberg in the middle of the ocean in the South Pole, they spent a lot of time there. If I were Professor Aronnax, I could handle the problem easily. Would say, we should use electricity to heat and melt the ice. They tried boiling the water, but it could have caused problems for marine animals. I would use the submarine's engine heat to melt the part covered with ice, and I would start digging from there. Finally, I would also change the end of the story. Captain Nemo and the professor would have become friends at the end of the story. Professor could have said, Captain, life is going on. You should be patient. You are just a human, and sometimes you can't do anything. You must carry on even if you lose everything you have.